March 31st, 2023. That was about a week ago from when I'm filming this. It also happened to be the 30th anniversary of the tragic death of Brandon Lee, who was shot and killed while filming some of the final scenes of the movie The Crow. 30 years ago seems like a long time. It got me actually thinking, because most people know about the story of Brandon Lee and The Crow, but it got me thinking about other incidents and fatalities or accidents that have occurred on movie sets previously, before that, and after that. So in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the fatal accidents, unfortunately, that have occurred on the set of movies and TV. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please think about hitting that like and subscribe button. I try to put out videos at least a couple times a week on various movie-related topics. Usually it's about physical media, but like I said, this one's a little bit different. After seeing that story, it had been 30 years about the death of Brandon Lee. I know there had been other stories that I've vaguely heard about. Most recently, the Rust shooting that Alec Baldwin was involved in. So I thought I'd make a video and go over some of the other tragic accidents that have occurred on sets. And a couple of these I had never heard of. They were surprised me. So there are definitely, like I said, we've got Brandon Lee, Helena Hutchins, who was killed on the set of Rust. That's the one that's been in the news more recently. There's also a cinematographer that was killed, a young actor that was killed, and in Twilight Zone, the movie, unfortunately, an actor and two children that were killed. So we are going to go ahead and go over all of those in this video. Like I said, I'll start off with The Crow because that's kind of the one that everybody knows about. Obviously, Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, was filming The Crow. The movie came out in 1994, although the filming took place in 1993. While he was filming that movie, and this is kind of the tragic part, they decided to add a scene that was not originally in the script. What the scene was involved, obviously, Brandon Lee, and it involved another actor, Michael Massee, who in the movie played Fun Boy. And they filmed a scene where Michael Massee was to shoot at Brandon Lee's character. Unfortunately, now this was a prop gun. It had blanks in it, but unfortunately, a piece of bullet had actually lodged itself into the gun previously, and nobody actually knew this. So when he fired the blanks at Brandon Lee, that part of that bullet fragment, in fact, shot out and struck Brandon Lee. I think it got lodged in his spine, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they worked on him. I want to say it was about 5 hours they said they worked on him, but obviously, as we all know, he unfortunately succumbed to that accident and was killed at only 27 years old. He was actually set to be married not even a little over 2 weeks after that. Obviously, that didn't happen. Definitely one of the most tragic stories in Hollywood. He was an up-and-coming actor. I believe he had a 3-picture deal, and that was the first of the 3, so he was looking forward to that. So yeah, definitely a tragic event. But unfortunately, as we go through this list, you'll see that it is not the only tragic event that involved a gun. But yeah, Brandon Lee, 30 years ago on March 31st, tragically passed away. Okay, so like I said, some of these I did not know too much about or didn't know anything about, so I've got little notes here, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So one of the ones we're going to go over is going to be probably the most recent one. Y'all, I'm sure, have heard about this one, and that is the one that occurred on the set of Rust, a movie that was being produced by Alec Baldwin. He also starred in this one. Most of y'all know exactly what happened here. Alec Baldwin took a prop gun that was supposed to have blanks in it. It sounds familiar. It was supposed to have blanks in it, and fired the gun. Unfortunately, it was pointed in the direction of Helena Hutchins, who was killed, unfortunately, in that. Now, obviously, Alec Baldwin, I haven't heard the latest updates on it. I believe he's been charged with involuntary manslaughter for that death. It's just one of those things. Once again, it's one of those weird. Why was he pointing a gun at a director? I think she was a director or cinematographer. I can't remember offhand. So it's kind of weird in that scenario. But unfortunately, she was killed in that. So definitely another one of those tragic shooting-related accidents that has occurred recently in Hollywood. But there's some others that we're going to go over as well. All right, this next story does not involve a gun, although it does involve, basically, a lot of these stories you'll see kind of involve things where, they cut some corners, were doing some things they should not have been doing, things that are actually illegal in some of these cases. So this is kind of one of those things where people were not where they were supposed to be. This is going to be the movie Midnight Rider that came out. This actually occurred in 2014. There was a young lady, Sarah Jones, who was only 27 years old. She was a camera assistant in this movie. And I believe it was either the first day of shooting or the first few days of shooting. Part of the movie was William Hurt was in this, and they were filming a scene where they put him laying in a bed on some railroad tracks over like a railroad bridge. So the scene was they placed a bed on the railroad tracks, and then he was laying in the bed. Unbeknownst to them, an actual CSX train was coming down the tracks. So, and from what I've read, they were not supposed to be there. They did not have permission from CSX to be filming on these train tracks. So the train starts to blow the whistle. Somebody yells, "There's a train coming." They have this bed that's on the train track, so they hop off the bed, and they're trying to carry all this gear. They're trying to carry the bed because, like I said, it's on a bridge, like a bridge trestle. They're trying to carry it off the bridge and around so they can actually get out of the way of the train. Most of the actors did get out of the way, including William Hurt. However, they realized at the very end that they weren't going to be able to pull the bed out in time. So what had happened was they left the bed kind of in the way of the train tracks. Some people had gotten away from the bridge. Others were still on it off to the side. Unfortunately, when the train hit the bed, it actually clipped the camera assistant, Sarah Jones, and knocked her into the path of the train. I believe I don't know if she survived. I think she survived initially, but then was later pronounced dead. The director, Randall Miller, was charged with involuntary manslaughter for this and actually pled guilty to it. He received a 2-year sentence and served 1 year of that 2-year sentence, and then he got probation. Some others got probation as well that were involved in this. But unfortunately, Sarah Jones, like I said, 27 years old, she was the camera assistant. She was killed by the train, and 6 other people were injured from the cause of that act. I guess they either got thrown around or they got hit by some type of debris or something like that. So 6 people were injured in that, and then unfortunately, like I said, Sarah Jones was killed after she got thrown into the train. All right, the next story we're going to go over is about a young man who was 26 years old. His name was jon-erik. He was a young man that was starring in a new television series called Cover Up. This is in 1984. It was a brand new series that they had filmed, hadn't actually debuted on TV yet. So jon-erik, like I said, 26 years old. I guess during the filming of this, there were a lot of delays in shooting. It became a commonplace where there were delay after delay after delay. So while some of the actors were sitting around after yet another delay, jon-erik picked up a .44 Magnum prop gun that was used on set. This gun was supposed to have blanks in it. And he just decided he was going to joke around for a second, and he put the gun to his head and said, I quote, "Can you believe this crap?" As talking about the delays. He said, basically put it to his head and said, "Can you believe this crap?" Fired the gun. Well, the blast actually, I guess, knocked a piece loose of his skull, and it says impact sent a bone fragment the size of a quarter into his brain, unfortunately. Just the sheer concussive force of that being so close to his head sent a bone fragment into his brain. He went into a coma. They tried to help get him back. He went into a coma, and unfortunately he died a week later from the self-inflicted gunshot wound. Like I said, only 26 years old. jon-erik was obviously not the best idea to do that, but once again, just another kind of terrible accident. I believe the show replaced his character with another actor, aired for 1 season, and then it never went anywhere after that. But yeah, jon-erik from 1984 died 26 years old. All right, and our last story is probably the most tragic because it involves a man and 2 children that were killed, and this is from 1982 on the set of Twilight Zone, the movie. I actually did not know anything about this until I started looking into this kind of stuff. Definitely very tragic. What had happened was, if you've never seen Twilight Zone, the movie, it's a series of a few different stories that are kind of like the Twilight Zone TV episodes. where it's different stories. So this is kind of the same thing. An actor by the name of Vic Morrow, who was 53 years old, played a character in one of these stories, and his character was very racist, very bigoted person. So the director of the movie, John Landis, decided that he wanted to kind of not make that character so hated. He wanted it to kind of be, make him a little bit more palatable, I guess, to the audience. So they decided to add a scene on where it takes place during Vietnam, where his character it grabs two children and he's trying to rescue them to escape Vietnam. He's trying to rescue them, take them out on a helicopter to get them out of harm's way. So they decide to film this. Unfortunately, what the director and some of the other people on set decided to do was to pay the two young stars, the children that he was going to hold. Their names are Renee Shin-Yi Chen. She was only 6 years old, and Micah Din Lee, who was 7 years old, decided to pay them under the table to get away from the child labor laws of California at the time. Also didn't bother to tell anybody because they were filming at night, and I guess it's against the law for children to film at night. So a lot of corners were cut here, a lot of kind of shadiness happened. So what ended up happening in this scene was it's kind of like a Vietnamese village, and there is footage of this accident if you so happen to look online for it. I'm not going to include it in here, but where he's basically running through water. He's got the two children under his arms, and he's running towards where I guess this helicopter is supposed to be. There's a lot of pyrotechnic explosions going on because it's supposed to be during war, and there is an actual helicopter that's flying overhead. So what is believed to have happened is the helicopter was low, and the director was telling it to get even lower, and these explosions and pyrotechnics actually did some damage to the helicopter. So as he's running out to where it is, the helicopter, actually the pilot lost control of the helicopter, and it crashed. Unfortunately, it crashed right where they were at. I know, like I said, the actor's name is Vic Morrow. Him and one of the children, the back rotor blades actually decapitated them. It cut their heads off. And the third other child was killed just by the sheer force of the helicopter. Basically landed on top of them. So unfortunately, Vic Morrow, like I said, who was 53, Renee Shin-Yin Chi, who was only 6, and Micah Din Lee, who was only 7 years old, all three were killed in that accident with the helicopter. The director, John Landis, I know him and some of the other producers on that were charged with involuntary manslaughter, just kind of like some of these other stories. They were all found not guilty. I know Steven Spielberg was part of this. I'm not sure if he was one of the ones that was charged. I do know he said that after this he never spoke with John Landis again. Just because of the corners and whatnot that were cut in this. Although from reading some of it, Steven Spielberg wasn't 100% innocent in kind of these things. I don't know if this was a common practice in Hollywood, if we won't tell so-and-so this, or we're going to do that. But unfortunately, that kind of stuff comes out when these accidents happen. And so that's kind of the ones I found, one of the worst. When you have one of your actors and two children that are killed on set, definitely is very tragic. Like I said, he was found not guilty. He actually did go on to continue directing. He's directed a lot of movies since then, trading places with a lot of Eddie Murphy, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Coming to America. He was the director of that, so it didn't actually hurt his career. But yeah, unfortunately, those three were killed on the set. And Vic Morrow is actually the father of Jennifer Jason Leigh. I know the family sued after that. Pretty much in all these cases, I think they sued and probably settled out of court. But yeah. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Like I said, just going up, hearing about Brandon Lee and 30 years ago, just so long ago. It's just crazy to think it happened that long ago. But obviously, as you can see by some of these stories, accidents unfortunately do happen. These are just really involving actors or crew that weren't stunt people. I'm sure if you talk about stuntmen, stunt women, the accidents get more, there's probably going to be a lot more that are listed on there, but I at least wanted to go over some of these accidents that have happened on set and just kind of remember Brandon Lee. Like I said, if you've seen The Crow, it's one of my favorites. Just an amazing movie. And then, if you think about some of the tragic things, like I said, that scene wasn't even supposed to be included in the movie. If it had never been included, if they hadn't decided, yeah, let's add this in, he'd probably still be alive today. But Unfortunately, that did not happen. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know some of your thoughts about any of these stories, if you've heard of them, or just what your thoughts are on Brandon Lee or any of the people that unfortunately passed away in these on-set accidents. All right, as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.